What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's your first time here. I thought we'd do a quick little update video to let you guys know what's been going on, how things are going with the studio setup, etc, etc. First of all, the studio is still very empty. That's why the sound is so hollow. Just ignore that for the time being. Also, soundproofing hasn't been done yet, so if you hear people outside, it is what it is. Anyway, so basically, for you guys who have not been following along or who doesn't know what's going on, basically I decided to open up my own studio called Samuel Studios. I am so excited. It's one of the biggest risks that I've ever taken, and it's quite stressful, not gonna lie. But the whole idea behind this, first of all, is that I want to make sure that I can create YouTube content regularly. So I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of YouTube playlists that I'm planning. Things like arts, crime and mystery, which there's a couple of episodes on my channel already, but I wasn't consistent with it, even though it's one of my favorite series to do. It's so much fun. It's so interesting. I love talking about conspiracy theories. I love talking about unsolved mysteries, true crime, all that type of thing. And I love art. And I thought, let's combine it and make a fun, entertaining, and also interesting YouTube series. The issue with that, as well as some of the other series that I planned, was that I can't film consistently. Space was an issue because my studio at home was it was too small and too cluttered. It was my art studio, my filming studio, my office, my storage container. It was so cluttered, I just couldn't manage to do anything. With the art, crime and mystery series, I kind of wanted to be that I can just sit down and film. I don't want to struggle to find paint and struggle to make a space for me to film or any of that. I kind of want everything to be set up and ready for me to go. So the same with the Bloody Podcast, which used to be its own channel, but we're going to move it over to Samuel Says YouTube channel, and that way everything is in one spot. And I have my own podcast that I'm also planning. With everything that I want to do on YouTube, space was an issue. And the main purpose of this space is going to be for me to be able to create content consistently. Separate from that, I also know that there's a lot of small creators, small businesses who struggle with the same thing. You don't have space to film. You want to start a podcast, but you don't know where to start. You don't have the space. With how amazing technology has gotten, you can start a podcast literally with your phone. You don't need to start off with all of the expensive equipment. But one thing that you kind of need is a space to film that's quiet and that's pretty and which has good lighting, that type of thing. So I thought, if I have a set podcast studio that I can use for my podcasts, but that I can also rent out to other podcasters, that would be amazing. So the plan would be to have different packages for the person who they are just starting out. They can't afford all the fancy pants equipment. You don't need it right from the start. So they can just rent out the space and come with their own phones, their own little camera, whatever they have available to them, and they can use the space. Or we'll have packages for podcasts who's more established, or people who have budget to put into that podcast, where we will have the cameras, the sound equipment, people like a crew to assist, all that type of thing. So that packages would also include the editing. So that is basically the plan with the podcast studio. Then I'm also going to have a photography space where I'm going to have backdrops, different backdrops, also a green screen backdrop. So this would be for photographers if they want to rent out studio space, or for, you know, everyday content creators, influencers, or just someone wants pictures for their Instagram, they can rent out the space. They can come and take photos with their own cameras, their own phones, whatever they prefer. Or I can put them in touch with a bunch of like proper photographers that they can rent for the day. I want it to be so that there's options for everybody, basically. Here where I'm sitting now, this is going to be one of the sets. It's not set up yet, it's still very empty, but this is going to be like a small living room set. So there's going to be a nice couch, the walls are going to be painted nice and colourful, we're going to have carpet, coffee table, like it's going to be a nicely set up living room set. So from here, people can create content such as this, like nice talking videos, or like, for instance, if you are a mommy influencer, you want to film a couple of things that happen during the week or advice for other parents or whatever, and you maybe need a nicely curated set, and you don't feel like going through the hassle of cleaning up toys and the pot from last night that's still on the stove or whatever. We all know the struggles that comes along with filming at home. For me, one of the big issues with filming from home was the noise. Like, I cannot tell the other people in my house that they are not allowed to live their life and talk because I'm busy filming. I cannot tell the dogs that for the next hour you are not allowed to bark. I can't tell the cats that you are not allowed in this vicinity for the next couple of hours. It doesn't work like that. So basically this space is going to be for anyone who wants a nicely curated, aesthetic living room set. I'm still planning out exactly how I'm going to do it, but the idea is to have a nice shelf, and people can bring their own props, if you want to call it that, but they can bring their own little things. Like if you wrote a book, you can put your book there, or things that makes it more you. And that's an easy way to, you know, make the space so that it fits your brand. Okay. Next to me on this side is going to be a little office set. So it's going to be a desk setup, which I will probably use as a desk, but it's also going to be available if someone wants to film desk videos from a desk perspective, if that makes sense. There's still a lot of things that's kind of in the air. I am figuring it out as I go. I have decided that throughout this process, I'm going to be very transparent and open with everybody, as I've always been. But I think a lot of times we share on social media just the highlights. And I've never been like that. I think it's important to share the highlights and the lows and to talk about real things. And starting a business, especially if you start out not having the capital that you need, you're kind of starting a bit on the back burner. But going through that process is always going to be stressful. You're going to have good days, bad days. I told my pastor this morning, we had a little coffee date, and I told him, you know, I feel like I have whiplash. I go from overly exciting, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life, it's going to be amazing, to crying and being overwhelmed like 90 times a day. So at the moment it's a bit all over the place. But in general, I do feel like this is going to be something special. There's also going to be a lot of focus from my side on small businesses. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Small businesses are the backbone of the economy. And I feel like they are struggling the most during this like hectic economical times. And I think a lot of small businesses are struggling to keep up with social media, with marketing trends, with influencer marketing, all that type of thing. It's complicated. It's so much different. And every year it changes a bit. And it's difficult to keep up with it. So there's a lot of people who have amazing products or services, but they struggle to tell their story and to really get their brand and their marketing to showcase who they are as a company. So I'm busy setting up different like courses, if you can call it that, or packages where I really go through the process with businesses that just starting out, or businesses who's going through a rebrand, or whatever the case may be. I don't know exactly what this is going to look like, but it is something that's inside my brain and that I am working on. So that is the update. That was a lot of talking, but that's basically the update. At the moment, things are going slower than I anticipated, but I did anticipate it going slower than I anticipated, if that makes sense. I've learned long ago that when it comes to business, nothing goes the way you plan. So I kind of planned for it not going the way I planned. It's a bit slower. Everything's slow. Like, I want things to just go the way I want it to go. Quick. It's not like that. So that is where I'm at. Still a lot to do. Soundproofing needs to be done. Furniture needs to be brought in. I still have to buy a lot of things. A lot of equipment still needs to be bought. Like, there's a list. I have a spreadsheet. I love a spreadsheet. So I created a spreadsheet that contains all of the different things that I have to do. So it's a bit overwhelming, but it's exciting. As for now, if you stumbled across this video and you watched it up until this point, thank you so much. I appreciate you. What you can do to help is simply to subscribe to this YouTube channel. At some point, I can't exactly tell you when yet, but soon I'm going to start uploading the content that I'm planning as soon as the studio is finished. But that is just the best way that you can support me, is by subscribing to the channel, watching the videos that's already on here, commenting, liking, just engaging with it, so that when we get to the point where I start consistently uploading, we are ready. You guys are ready to view this business. I'm so excited. Thank you for everyone's support. Like, from the moment that I told you guys what I'm doing, the support has been overwhelming. I appreciate you guys so much, and I can't wait to see what 2025 holds for us. So thank you. Alright, that's our little update video, and we'll chat again later. Bye bye.